It all kicked off with a scream that could peel paint off a barn. Not the kind you'd hear in a real emergency, like a house fire or a runaway truck. No, this was a piercing, theatrical wail, the kind only someone like Linda could unleash when she spotted something she didn't like and decided it had to be obliterated. Her shriek sliced through the calm morning air like a hot knife, and before I could even process it, sirens wailed in the distance. I bolted out of my trailer, where we were setting up for a shoot, nearly tripping over my goat, Gizmo, who was rocking a tiny denim vest for a pet food commercial. Don't ask Kaites Hollywood. 2 animal control vans screeched down the dirt road, lights flashing like they were raiding a drug cartel. There, at the edge of my property, stood Linda, arms flailing like she was directing a doomsday parade. "They're feral. Dangerous," she screeched, pointing at my goats like they were rabid wolves. One of them nearly mauled my nephew. The goat she was accusing, Muffin, was lazily nibbling a daisy, sporting a floppy sun hat. She looked more like she belonged on a postcard from Tuscany than in a horror flick. My goats weren't just pets, they were licensed MOVYE stars, trained to bow, wink, and play dead on cue. But Linda? She wasn't HVYing it. I threw my hands up, stepping between the officers and my herd. "Hold up. This is a film set. These goats are professionals. I've got their paperwork inside." One officer gave me a look that said he'd heard every excuse in the book. Linda, clutching her phone like it was a loaded gun, played a shaky VY Deo that conveniently started right after she'd been yelling in Muffin's face, clapping like a deranged cheerleader. "This is harassment." I snapped. "They're registered with the Screen Go Guild. We've got handlers, permits, the works." Linda shot back. "They nearly killed my nephew," dramatizing killed like she was gunning for an Oscar. Meanwhile, Muffin balanced a rubber ball on her nose, and the crew snickered. Our director, Tony, nearly spat out his kombucha. But logic wasn't winning today. An officer moved toward Muffin with a catch pole, and she skittered back, eyes wide. "Don't touch her," I shouted. "She's got traumational shutdown." Another officer flipped through a clipboard. "We've got complaints about unregistered livestock, safety risks, and an injury claim involved VYing a minor. You denying they bit someone. That's a flat-out lie." I said, "Nobody's been on my land except this nutcase, trespassing." Linda gasped like I'd slapped her. "You've ruined my peace," she hissed, as if my goats were screaming death metal at midnight. Right then, Gizmo let out a bleat that sounded uncannily like a chuckle. A crew member whispered, "He's roasting her." The officers looked exhausted, but Linda's nonstop whining was a force of nature. Sometimes, the easiest move is to act, even if it's wrong. They grabbed Muffin and Gizmo, loaded them into the van, and drove off. Tony threw his cap on the ground. "You just tanked our national ad campaign," he yelled at Linda. She smirked, tossing her hair. "Maybe next time, keep your barnyard beasts in a zoo." I glared at her, teeth gritted. "You're going to regret this." She leaned in, whispering, "What? You going to call your goat lawyers?" Then she strutted off like a soap opera VY lane, Leah VYing my crew stunned, our shoot canceled, and me choking on dust from the van carrying 2 of Hollywood's finest goat actors. By midnight, things took a wild turn. A makeup artist, Zoe, had filmed the whole mess and posted a clip called "Lady Freaks Out Over MOVYE Goats." With dramatic zooms and a close-up of Muffin blinking innocently in her sun hat, it hit 30,000 VYUs in hours. By morning, it was at 500,000. Reddit threads popped up, hashtags like the Free Muffin trended, and someone made fan art Gizmo in shades. Comments flooded in. "Did she just try to cancel goats? That goat's got more charisma than most actors." Even Tony, who'd been gutted yesterday, reposted it with, "Our shoot's on hold, but Gizmo's star is rising." But the HOA wasn't laughing. Linda went full warpath, posting a rant in the community group. "Our neighborhood's under attack by livestock actors. Kids are at risk. This isn't a farm." She included a blurry photo of Muffin sniffing a flower, captioned "Aggressive Beehive VY," or her cronies, mostly cranky retirees, piled on. Suddenly, I was the bad guy. The HOA president, Greg, a guy with the personality of a wet sock, called an emergency meeting without inviting me. A neighbor leaked me the group chat. Filming with animals OLATs, our community values. By afternoon, I got a letter finding me for animal noise and unauthorized commercial active tie. Linda was out there, clipboard in hand, getting neighbors to sign a petition to ban all farm animals. I was pacing, phone glued to my hand, begging our sponsors not to pull the plug. They were spooked by the PR mess, even with the RAL Deo. What if the HOA sues? One asked. They can't sue over permitted goats. I snapped. Still, the deal was frozen. Then, a sleek SUV rolled up. The window lowered, revealing Jake Ryder, action star, in a leather jacket and a VY8ers. Got any oat treats? He grinned. My old scene partner loves them before stunts. I blinked. Jake had worked with Muffin on 3 films, calling her the Meryl Streep of goats. Last I heard, he was shooting in Tokyo. Animal control took her, I said. His jaw tightened. Then we're getting her back. 10 minutes later, a TMZ van pulled up, cameras flashing. Jake faced them and said, "These goats are legends. One saved my life on a stunt. Another raised $100,000 for kids' hospitals. Now, they're locked up because some HOA tyrants got a grudge." Linda came charging down the street, leopard print scarf flapping. "This is private property," she shrieked. Jake didn't flinch. "I'm on a public sidewalk, and I've worked with real predators. These goats aren't it." Her screams hit a pitch that made dogs howl, and a live stream of her meltdown buried whatever credibility she had left. 3 days later, Linda went quiet, her curtains drawn. Neighbors whispered she was dodging the memes and late-night TV jabs. But Muffin and Gizmo were still gone, and Jake wasn't waiting for lawyers. He set up a press conference in my backyard, with the remaining goats wearing certified screen animal badges. "I'm here to defend Muffin and Gizmo, American icons," he said, clicking a remote. A giant screen played a montage. Muffin defusing a prop bomb in Goat Agent 4, Gizmo leaping a canyon in Great Goat Escape, and Muffin licking a kid's face at a charity event. The kicker? Footage of a young Muffin doing tricks for the president at a mental health event. "She's met presidents," Jake said. Linda's biggest win is yelling at a goat. The broadcast blew up. The Muffin for President trended, and a crowdfunding campaign raised $30,000 in a day. But the HOA fought back. Greg fumbled through a press conference, muttering, "The HOA doesn't support illegal goats. They should be removed." A goat bleated, and he froze. "Is that one of them?" The clip went viral as HOA guy loses to goat. The neighborhood split Linda's crew versus everyone else, with kids drawing goat murals and teens building fan pages. Still, the goats were stuck in a shelter under VYEW because of Linda's complaints. Jake paced my VYing room. "We need a knockout punch." Then it hit me. Muffin wears a collar cam for BTS footage. I never wiped it. We dug out the microchip and plugged it in. The VY Deo showed Linda storming onto my land, screaming at Muffin, tossing a stick, then faking a fall with a dramatic ow. "No nephew. No bite, just pure lies." "She faked a legal report," Jake said, grinning. "Game over." We sent the footage to the city attorney. Hours later, Muffin and Gizmo were released, trotting home with ribbons around their necks. Linda opened her door, saw Muffin twirling for the cameras, and fainted on her porch. But she wasn't done. 2 days later, I found a gift basket on my doorstep, goat treats, and a note. "No more hooves in Hollywood. Return to normal, or they get sheared." I knew it was Linda. I brushed it off, thinking she was just lashing out. Big mistake. That night, Muffin and Gizmo vanished. No broken locks, just a scrap of leopard print fabric on the fence. Panic hit hard. I called everyone sheriff, animal control, Jake. Then my phone buzzed. A photo of the goats in a basement with a sign reading, "Final warning." This wasn't a prank. It was go napping. Jake stared at the image. "We're exposing her publicly, cleanly." I posted about a fake pop-up shoot for a new ad. The Goat Mania, knowing Linda couldn't resist. We turned my yard into a trap motion cameras, fog machines, and a fake goat pen with decoys from the drama club. That night, we launched Goat Mania, the musical with teens dancing as space goats. At 9:42 p.m., cameras caught Linda, dressed like a budget spy, sneaking in with shears. Lights flashed, speakers blared. Freeze! Busted by Muffin. Kids in alien goat costumes sang, "Linda can't catch us." She screamed, tripped into a kiddie pool, and lost her wig. The live stream exploded. She's unhinged. Goat dramas peak Broadway. Best part? Muffin and Gizmo strolled out, freshly bathed. Linda's nephew had tipped us off, hidden them in her shed, bribing him with gift cards. A deputy escorted her away as she ranted about goat conspiracies. Muffin bleated smugly. Justice had hooves. Court was a circus. News vans, protesters with signs like "Let Muffin bleat," and a guy in a goat suit yelling, "Objection." The judge, a no-nonsense woman, eyed Linda. "You're referring to the licensed therapy goats in my courtroom?" Muffin and Gizmo, in bow ties, trotted in. The room erupted. Linda's lies unravel collar cam. Ransom note, live stream. On the stand, she whined, "These goats ruined my life. My property's worthless. I'm a meme." The judge wasn't impressed. "You broke into a musical." Linda threw a shoe at Muffin, who dodged it like a pro. "Guilty on all charges, fines, restraining order, HOA re-VYEW." That night, we threw Goat Star Night. The neighborhood came, minus Linda, now banned. Fairy lights twinkled. Gizmo wore a sequin cape, and Muffin posed with fans. Tony pulled me aside, streaming deals back for a series. These goats are icons. But as I headed inside, someone slipped a flyer in my pocket. Goat Mania 2, Hooves of Justice editions with a scrawled note, "She's not done." I spun around, but they were gone. The goats bleated. Linda was out there, plotting. And I was ready. Months later, Goat Mania 2 was filming a sci-fi epic with neon moons and Gizmo pulling a hover cart. Fans lined up, merch sold out. Then Linda returned, disguised as a talent scout with a fake accent, spreading lies about animal cruelty. She almost swayed the producers until I dropped a mini doc, Linda Strikes Back. It showed her ketchup bruise in blank scouting folder. The Linda Unmasked trended. Mid-scene, she stormed the stage, screaming, "You're all under their hooves." The crowd booed her off, and Gizmo pooped by her feet cinematic gold. She sold her house and fled, but her name was forever tied to Muffin, the goat who ended Linda. At the premiere, Muffin and Gizmo walked the red carpet, pearl necklace and Saturn bow tie gleaming. The mayor declared Goat Mania Day. I introduced the film. Someone said goats don't belong in the suburbs. They didn't just belong, they owned it. The crowd roared. As the lights dimmed, someone whispered, "Is she gone for good?" I smirked. Nah, Lindas don't vanish. They reboot. Muffin's face filled the screen, and the saga rolled on. Mess with goats, and your legacy gets trampled. So what do you think? Was Linda a VY Lane, or just misunderstood? Should the goats get their own reality show? And if Linda comes back, what's her next move? Drop your thoughts, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep this goat drama alive.